All right. Welcome to another episode of the S.E.M podcast. Jack Bryce back again with Zach Hewlett as your host, and tonight we're joined by the famous Charles Noble. When I texted him and said, "Is this the famous Charles Noble?" he said, "I don't know about famous, but this is Charles Noble. If you served in the Scotland Edinburgh Mission, you are famous."
Yes, he is.
You got to remember that. All right. How are you doing today, Charles?
Doing good.
Where are you calling from? Mesa?
I'll just say the Tucson area. Tucson,
Tucson.
Arizona area. And
That's where in Tucson? Like Marana?
a little bit south of Tucson in Green Valley.
Oh, nice.
It's right next to it's Twin City. They're Twin Cities, Sahuarita and Green Valley. They're about 15, 16 miles south of Tucson.
Yeah, I've got lots of family down there.
So if you're familiar with if anybody's listening is familiar with the Phoenix metro area, it's kind of like Maricopa compared to the rest of Phoenix.
Yep.
I don't know unless you're familiar with Phoenix, it would make absolutely zero sense whatsoever, but oh well. There you go.
All good. All right. Well, thank you for joining us. We'll get started with when you got your call, how you got your call, found out you were going to Scotland. Then we'll skip over because we want to know what you've been up to since your mission, and then we'll go back and talk about the mission. So start us off with getting your call.
Graduated high school, worked for about 6 months, because I graduated like at 18 and something, so I had to wait for a little bit. I got a mission call in spring of 2004, I want to say.
Yeah.
Spring of 2004. Yeah. When the call came, I did something kind of. I look back at it and thinking, I don't know, why did I do that? That was just weird. I actually I had it for a day or a couple of days, and didn't open it for a little bit. And my mom was like, "Why aren't you opening it?" It's like, I don't know. I want to see I want you to open it. My mom's like, "What? You want me to open it?" I'm like, sure, why not? So I had my mom read it out in like a small family gathering. So I wasn't even the first person to read it. My mom was reading the letter, so
that is unique.
Yeah, I knew I was going to hear it, but I was just thinking, you know what? Why not let my mom read it? She's really excited this year, and she's the one. She's like, "Why aren't you reading it yet?" I'm like, "Well, I'm kind of waiting for people to be together. I'm just going to read it off right now when nobody else is around." So I waited for a couple of days, and that's how I did it.
Cool.
What was your reaction? Sorry, Jack. What was your reaction to going to Scotland?
One thing I was definitely glad is I didn't have to learn a foreign language, because I tried to learn French in high school, and believe me, that went really, really not good. Not good at all. And I still to this day I am terrible at learning languages. I've always been terrible at that. So as I read that, I'm like, cool. At least I don't have to learn another language.
You thought.
I just have to learn a dialect. That's all I gotta do is learn a dialect. I don't have to learn another language. I don't care. This is fine. Let's go for it. I personally didn't care. I didn't have any preference. Foreign language, not foreign language. Other than that, like, yeah, if I'm going foreign language, I'm going to need help. But if it wasn't, I really didn't care if it was in states, out of state, out of country. It didn't matter to me. To me, just had the opportunity to serve the Lord as a missionary was all that mattered. I didn't care where it was.
Very good. And you left from Mesa, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Cool. All right.
For those who are listening, Mesa is a city within the Phoenix, Arizona metropolitan area.
Yep.
Beautiful.
All right.
area.
So when did you enter the MTC? Or what month? Do you remember?
July
2004.
2004.
All right. So July 2006, you went home. Man, I can't imagine going back to Arizona right in the middle of the summer, July from Scotland.
Hey, I had a chance to see the heat wave, the heat radiating off the tarmac. It's a real thing.
I got back in February and I thought it was hot.
Oh, it's a real thing, especially in the summertime. You come off the airplane's landing, and the floor just looks like the runway just looks like it has like a wave running across it. It's just the optical illusion of the heat is radiating off of it. You just get this optical illusion. Yeah.
So catch us up with what you've been up to since you got home.
Well, not a ton. I worked as a custodian for a little while, and worked as a custodian for a while. Got married to my wife Jessica. Then later on, I decided to go do some technical skill training. I didn't want to be a custodian for the rest of my life. That was just not what I wanted to be. I appreciate the fact of having had a chance to do that, but that's just not. I knew I could do better than being a custodian. And then I went and got training for air conditioning, HVAC certification, and the company I initially got hired on with them. It was right at the beginning of the recession, at the end of Bush going into Obama. The recession right there, that was right at that time frame. So a lot of businesses like HVAC companies, electricians they were struggling to keep customers. In the middle of the summer, I went from as an HVAC tech working. I got down to middle of summer in the Phoenix area. I got down to like 15 to 20 hours a week working HVAC. That's a sign that this company is in serious trouble. You need to find another job, because when winter comes along, I'm going to have nothing, and I'm not going to be able to pay bills or anything. So I decided, I'm like, hey, you know what? Shot in the dark. I'll just go, because the HVAC school I went to, they had a career center to help guide current or former students that they had there to job leads that companies came to them for. And there was one that came in that he's like, well, it has nothing to do with air conditioning. I don't know if anybody may be interested in it here. It's car washes. So I was like, yeah, and they said, I'm like, well, what are they looking for? Like, they're looking for a temporary person. They had someone get injured from a grinder injury, so they need someone for like maybe 3 to 6 months so that person can heal, and it might be just a temporary thing. I'm like, sure. I was thinking, all right, work from the rest of that summer, make into the spring, temporary job, get back into another HVAC company, just a different HVAC company. That's what I was thinking. And I've been in the car wash, repairing car washes ever since. That was what I thought would have been a 3 or 4 month temporary job has turned out to be, how long is it now?
Like 15 years.
It might be 13. It might be 13 years now at this point.
Yeah. Wow.
That's
Still
incredible.
fixing car washes.
So you travel around Arizona and fix car washes.
Yeah, I've been to I've done work on car washes in Las Vegas, all across Arizona, El Paso, Texas. Yeah. If you name a biggish city in Arizona, I've probably been to a car wash there, including Globe, Safford, Tuba City, all the way up in the Navajo Reservation, Tuba City, Flagstaff, Winslow, Parker on the west side, over right by California. Just pretty much put a map dot all across Arizona there. I primarily focus now, since I live in Tucson. We have a number of washes down here. I'm the one tech in the southern Arizona, so I primarily cover pretty much anything southern Arizona. So like Benson, Douglas, Nogales, Tucson, Sarita, Marana, Florence, Casa
You cross the
Grande.
border?
I got really close. When I go to Nogales, I'm actually only like 2 miles away from the big shipping hub, the cross border hub where we're probably like a fourth of all the grocery products that come from Mexico into the states goes through. That's a really big facility. If you're ever down there, that's a huge facility. And when you just look at that, you just see hundreds of semi trucks all in line getting inspected, and probably like 10 or 12 of them at a time. Yep. It's a big facility there. So they have all sorts of stuff going through that port of entry down there.
Cool. That's cool.
So,
besides work, I'm down here in Tucson. I love singing, so I've joined a choir. It's called the Sons of Orpheus. If you're ever curious about what some of the things they sing, you can find them on YouTube. They have a video on YouTube if you're interested in it. But
I am.
Yeah.
Oh, we're gonna look it up for sure.
Sons of Orpheus.
Got it.
Reference to the Greek. Reference to the Greek character. Character is actually not just a character; it's actually a real life person. But Orpheus is an actual historical figure, but they're known for his ability with music, and so
it's awesome.
Cool. That's great. Any children?
No, for my wife it would be very, very dangerous. So chose to not, and we are planning on fostering or maybe adopting in the future.
Cool.
That's great.
One cat?
Well, I wish it was. That's a whole other story. It was never planned. It just happened. So yeah, more than one. It's not a crazy number, but it's more than I wish it would have had. I was happy with maybe two. All right, two, that'd be totally fine. That's it. But then there was long story short, several cat. There was a cat that when we moved from the house, I lived in Florence for a little bit. That was our first house. It was a brand new build out in Florence, out in the middle of the sticks. And I do mean sticks because the closest, when we were out there, the closest grocery store was a 15-minute drive. The closest anything was like 15-minute drives away. It reminds me of a lot of like driving through like Nebraska, where you just have fields and fields and fields, and then all of a sudden you have what resembles a small town, but then you live out in the middle of the fields and come into the small town for all your groceries or everything you need. So we decided to move away from there because my wife doesn't drive, so that was really hard on her because she really couldn't go anywhere.
Yeah.
So one of our stipulations when we moved down to Tucson was finding a place that would be able to allow her to go places and potentially and do work or something that she could get to relatively close by. So that was one of our stipulations. We didn't want to be out in the where we were like a brand new build out in the middle of the sticks anymore. That just wasn't applicable for what we needed at that time.
Yeah. So you must have got your driver's license then.
Oh, yes, I did. I finally got it. Yes, going into a mission, I did not have a driver's license. I never had driven. I got my driver's license about a year after mission. I finally learned how to drive at that point. I just never had any interest in driving before that. I know that's unusual for American teenagers, but
it's the usual now. You're a trendsetter.
Oh, am I? Oh, wow, that's not good. That's not good. Learning to drive really should be done. Now, do you need a rush to it when you're 16 and your brain isn't fully settled? I don't think so. You really don't need to rush into it at 16. But by the time you're 18, 19, I think you probably should be thinking about it and trying in a serious way.
There you
because
go.
so many jobs require you to go somewhere, and if you can't drive, what are you going to do?
Yep. Very
You're
true.
going to be a janitor.
There's not the public transport here like there is in the UK. So.
Oh, definitely not.
All right, Charles. So take us back now. You could start the MTC with who your companion was, and then just walk us through the mission, whatever you want to talk about, remember, areas, companions.
All right.
It can be open book. So
I wrote down a couple notes just to try to remind myself. I'm like, it's been a while since I had to think about every area. Hopefully I remember everything, but I may not. So I was in the MTC, the Preston MTC. Like most of the people who went to the Scotland Mission went to the Preston MTC. With Elder Lineker. Elder Lineker. So in my training area, I was in the Cathkin branch in Glasgow. With Elder Mortley. If you remember Elder Mortley, he was an Australian.
Yeah,
he's an Australian from Perth. So, from Perth, Australia. The second area was in Huntley. Was Elder Leonard, and my brain is bad. I want to say I only had 5 areas. That was it. I had a total of 5 areas.
5?
Yeah, that's it.
Oh my word, stalwart.
Well, Cathkin, I was there for 3 months. Huntley, I was for 1 transfer. Actually, no, that's not true. 2 transfers in Huntley. 3 transfers in Stirling. 2 transfers in Glenwathos, and 10.5 months in Kilmarnock.
Oh wow!
Wow, that is a long time.
And when I was in Kilmarnock, Elder McClure was my companion for 9 months, all by my last transfer.
Holy smokes!
9 months with Elder McClure. That's amazing.
No, I went to his wedding.
You guys must be best friends.
You went to his wedding?
I went to. He sent me an invitation online. Probably about a year and a half after I got home, and I saved up. I had a little bit of money saved up, and got a flight and went to his wedding.
Awesome.
That's cool.
That is cool, man. That is a long time to be in an area and a long time to be with a companion. Hope you guys got along.
Oh, absolutely. I didn't know this until later on, but President Breen's had asked Christoph McClure, asked him, well, you've been in this area for a while. Do you want to transfer? Do you want a different companion? He's like, no. He specifically put a request. Says, I don't want any other companion or any other area the rest of the time. Keep me here the rest of the time. As long as we work together, you're not going to have to worry about us. And he did.
Awesome.
Christoph, Elder McClure, ended up being there in that one area he was in that area for a year.
Wow.
So his last year was one area.
That's incredible.
He's one we need to get on here too. So if you're still got contact with him, let him know.
Maybe.
Reach out.
Maybe I have to look at some old emails and maybe able to find one.
Yeah.
I might be able to. So those are the areas I served in. Glen Rothis, I served with you. Jack, I served with you, Jack. That was 3 months. Something funny about that. Do you remember our terrible job of how horrible we were about taking care of that backyard?
Yeah. That was pretty bad.
That was terrible. So we weren't in a like a 2-story flat. We were just like in a single, which was kind of unusual for missionaries. We were actually in a 1-story house, and it had its own backyard, which was really unusual. And we were supposed to take care of the backyard. And no, no, we didn't.
We just shut the blinds and let it grow.
Yeah, we did. It was terrible. I remember we just stopped looking. I was like, oh, that's bad. I don't want to go out there and look at it. Nope. I'm not going to spend my P-Day going out there looking at you can do anything out there. And maybe we probably lost that house. That bad we were about that.
We did have, when I left, we closed that apartment, not the area, but I was the last one in that flat. So.
Yeah. You could have.
The only time I went back there was when we forget our keys and had to unlock the back door with the butter knife.
Oh, so secure. So very secure indeed.
Yeah. Oh, man.
I want to know how you got the butter knife.
Well, it was left. That was like our spare key left in the
backyard. Just on the back porch.
No way.
Yeah.
Yes, it's true. It was just sitting on the back porch. Covered in grass.
There was no door handle. You just had to stick the butter knife like in where the mechanism was and open it.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. That's hilarious.
Yeah. Like Charles said, super secure.
Oh man.
All right. Who else did you serve with?
Let's see. Elder Wilkie and Elder Aurelio, Salvatore Aurelio in Sterling, and
we've had both of them on.
My brain. I think my brain is glitching, so I don't think of anything else. So yeah, 6 companions in total of 5 areas. That's it.
Wait, you said you killed Elder McClure off.
Who was your last companion?
Who was your last companion? Didn't you serve with Matt Fisher at one point too?
And Glenn Rothis before me, right?
You're right. I did. My brain, like I said, my brain is not the best. I was trying to find all my old daily planners. I actually kept all my every single daily planner and all the zone conference newsletters, and I was trying to find that box where I actually kept all of them, but I can't remember where I put it. It's around here somewhere. I can't remember the exact spot. You're right, Elder Fisher. That's right, Elder Fisher and Glenn Rothis, and then you. So in that case, it's probably like 4.5 months in Glen Rothis. So I had a tendency of like either having 4.5, 3 months. I think was the shortest I ever was in one area. 4.5 was pretty common, and then Kilmarnock was 10.5 months.
Okay. I was gonna say I know I served around you at one point in the mission, and it wasn't when Jack was there, or maybe it was when Jack was there, because I was in Dunfermline at that point, if I remember correctly.
We're all there because we're in that picture that you have, Zach. with like Bass and Aurelio.
Yep.
And
Oh, that's right. Oh my gosh. All right, I'm gonna pull it up. I gotta show you. While you got a kitty cat on your lap.
All right, Butters. You can move over right now. His name is Butterscotch.
All right.
Something interesting about him is he. You don't need your butt in the video. Before we got him. Oh, I remember that.
See that beautiful picture?
I remember that.
Look
In the very back right there.
Elder Barber's trying to squish you.
I remember.
That was a fun district. We had a lot of fun in that district.
Yes,
do you remember at that point in time when we used to play hacky sack after district meeting?
Yeah. Some of you guys are pretty good, and I have absolutely zero eye-hand coordination.
But you know what, Charles? You tried, and that was one thing that I really, really like. I just, like you said, you acknowledged that you had less coordination, but you still came and played and had fun with us. Despite,
I tried. If I got like one bounce off of it, I felt good. Like, yay! I actually got my foot at the right spot at the right time. Now, don't direct us, but direct it. Yeah, I just got lucky, and I got my foot at least somewhat there.
Yeah, I mean, we all took a good pegging once in a while from somebody who just wanted to beat us with with the hacky sack.
Oh, Matt Fisher was super good.
That's right. I remember.
He was super good at that hacky sack.
Yeah.
And I always remember Elder Salvatore's piano playing. I always remember his piano playing, and he had a guitar too. If he used to sometimes play the guitar too.
That's true. He was very good, very musical.
Oh yeah. I still have a copy of the Book of Mormon in Greek from him.
In Greek, really?
Yeah.
For those that are,
he knows how to speak Greek.
I didn't know that. That's pretty cool.
He does.
For those that are watching, this is an action shot of Charles playing hacky sack. You see, the hacky is right there. I don't know how I caught that picture. It was pretty good.
That is pretty good.
Working on my quick shutter speed on my camera, I guess.
Yeah. I think one of my most memorable lessons giving to an investigator, not in a good way, was in Sterling. I was when serving with Elder Aurelio, and he had 2 boxes of chocolates. He inadvertently gave us the wrong one. He meant to give us the one that was just normal, but he inadvertently gave us the one that had whiskey in it.
Oh,
oops.
Yeah. That's when I discovered that one chocolate, actually half of one chocolate, but just that tiny amount of alcohol was enough to get me totally drunk.
Seriously?
Yes.
And you were teaching someone at that moment?
Well, we had a lesson, but he inadvertently gave us the wrong box, and they were both Elder Aurelio had a very concerned look. Is like, how in the world does this happen off of half of a chocolate? He's like, what? And the guy we were teaching is a Greek guy, and he was just like, the look almost looked like, sorry. Never seen that happen. So the next time we were there, he's like, I totally triple checked, and you can double check yourself. Don't touch the box unless you double check. It's like I can't. I've never seen that happen. I'm like, well, you hadn't met me before.
You just had a low tolerance, it sounds like.
Well, I've discovered later on, I realized that I actually have a very low tolerance for medications pretty much in general.
Oh, okay.
My twin brother, my identical twin brother, when we were 16, was in an accident and had both of his legs broken at the same time. They put rods and pins in his legs to help them set. And in the process of doing that, they gave him one dose of something called Percocet, which is an opioid painkiller at the end of the surgery, thinking that he's going to be in a lot of pain after the putting rods and pins in his legs. That one dose almost put my twin brother into a medical coma.
So he has the same sensitivity.
Yeah, we're identical twins. So I thought about it later. I thought about it later on, and realized, that explains my complete death aversion to any form of alcohol in any trace amount. Even trace amounts is enough to make my body just overreact.
Yeah. You got to be careful with hand sanitizer.
Oh, no. If it's on my skin, it's not a problem. It's when it's ingested, like that chocolate experience happened, like the chocolate happened, that one's ingested, that's a problem. If someone were to force feed a whole beer to me, I would probably be dead before I get to the hospital, or I'd be so puking, and it would not be pretty.
You're definitely the first missionary we've had on here who's been drunk on their mission. So
at least admitted to it.
It was complete accident. Yeah, that was definitely that's why I said memorable, not in the good way. Nevertheless, memorable.
That's funny.
Serving in in terms of people who ultimately got baptized, we taught Elder Aurelio and I taught a lady named taught a lady in Sterling, and she did get baptized 3 months after I left Sterling. And then when I later on I heard about the amazing miracle that happened for that to happen. Elder Aurelio probably mentioned this, I'm sure he probably did, but she had a dream from her deceased husband on the other side of the veil saying, I can't progress. You need to help me progress. You know what choice you need to make. Help me progress. And she got baptized. And but she was afraid to get baptized because her whole family was totally completely disowned her. They already warned her, said, if you do anything with this, you're going to be totally disowned, and you might as well consider yourself as dead. We're not going to talk to you again. Just done. So she was very afraid to get baptized. But that dream helped her overcome the extreme situation that she was going to put herself into.
Yeah. Wow.
And that was in terms of anybody that we taught. Well, I was involved with teaching. That was the closest that ever gotten to someone actually getting baptized. Other than that, no. But I don't think that was uncommon for a lot of missionaries in Scotland.
Yep, that's very true.
Yep. So tell us more about some of the other areas you served in, what you remember.
There was Cathkin was my training area with Elder Mortley. I learned a lot from Elder Mortley of just basic missionary stuff, and going into a mission, I was definitely, and I probably still am, not a people speaking person. I'm just not very good at that. Never have been. But going into mission, my goodness. Whew. I sure had a lot of weaknesses in public speaking or talking to other people about anything other than the weather. Clearly, I was not prepared for mission in that area. So I remembered we knocked on a whole lot of doors in that area. In Huntley, we knocked on some doors, but we did a little bit more member missionary work there in Huntley. The Huntley branch had maybe 20 active members. That included the missionary, us as missionaries, and also a senior couple, the Sutters. So that's 4 missionaries. So it's at least 16 active regular members for a really large geographical area. So that was a really tough area for people to remain active in. Just really, really tough area. I remember there was a sister who in the ward who we would have a meal with every week, and every week we would always have a prayer before we went there. Please help us to not get sick. Please help us to not get sick. And I tell you this because this is true. One time, I saw her, the towel that she had some rolls wrapped up in. First, I was thinking, that's just a towel looks a little bit on the dirty side. Why she wrapped it up? And she had a sneeze, so she pulled the towel off, blew her nose in the towel, and just put it right back on the
No
rolls.
way.
I'm not joking. I just put it right back on the rolls, and I'm like, oh. But I will tell you this, and it's totally true. At that point, missionaries had been going by her house for probably like 2 or 3 years at that point, and not a single one had gotten sick. Even though that's
a miracle.
That was blessing on the food. It can work. No one ever got sick there. Everybody really should have gotten sick there. Like, everybody should have gotten really sick there, but no one ever did. Now, that wasn't true for other members who wouldn't visit her. They generally did get sick.
Oh, man.
But we never did. That was the hand of the Lord saying, no, not my missionaries. She had a golden heart, but just a house that probably shouldn't be preparing food in it. I remember that very well. Just nice lady. Just no sense of hygiene there. Willing to blow your nose right into a towel and then put it right back on the bread that you're serving. It's not the way you're supposed to serve food to someone. Yeah, and I'm sure whatever else happened before that, we don't know. It was probably just as bad. I remember that area. That's one thing in particular. I remember that's the area that I learned. Actually heard someone say the phrase, "You can, and they meant it in that exact sentence, and I understood what they meant. I got what they said. I'm like, okay. I've been in Scotland at that point. I'd been in Scotland for probably almost 6 months. And that was the first time I'd heard any Scottish person actually use "can" 3 times in one sentence and not even think about it. It was just normal for them. That was the only area that I'd ever heard that.
And it made sense to you.
Yes, it did. And it did. Once again, I think the Lord I know even though I didn't think about it, I know the Lord definitely helped me to understand the dialect in different areas, because I never seemed to have a trouble understanding anybody's speech anywhere. Even out in the middle of the countryside, where people use "kin" 3 times in one sentence, and out of 4 words in the sentence, and 3 words are "kin," used 3 times in a row, that was a sentence. I understood it. Most Americans, I think, if they were just to hear "Ken" once, they'd kind of be befuddled, but 3 times in a row, they'd be totally lost. Like, what did you say? What did you say? But I got it. I understood it. Sterling, I remember, Sterling is a lot of hills. Sterling is a lot of hills in that area. I mean, Elder really and I walking up hills all the time. I remember the night very well that we had when we found I so wish I had my notes. I'm gonna find it. I see her face. I could hear her voice. I just can't put the name on it. Started with a K. I'm sorry. I just can't remember it. That's when, and she's the lady who later got baptized. Kiara. That was her name. Kiara. Spell with a K, not CH.
Okay.
Um,
You find her chapping?
yes. It was a very strange week for us. Every time we would pray about an area to go camping in, we kept on getting led to this one individual like group of streets. We'd go chapping pretty much all day there. Nothing. The next day, we guided there again. And again. And again. And they were just like, I think it was probably close to 2 to 3 weeks of every single day just being told, you need to go to this area. You need to go to this area. We're like, why? Why do we need to go to this particular area? I don't know. The Lord keeps on telling us to do it, so we went. And it was one of those times where you chap until 8 o'clock at night, and you're just asking yourself, okay, well, it's time you should probably start walking back. By the time we get to we need to catch that last bus, which is at 8:20. We only have like 20 minutes to get to our last bus to get back. So I don't know. One last door. Which door do you want to go to? And we were about to knock on a door, and it's like, nope, not this door. Keep on going down. So we walked to like 3 or 4 doors, and it's like, this door. Okay. So we knocked on the door, and that's how we found her. It was after like 2 or 3 weeks of like knocking the same area every single day, like, and nothing. And then all of a sudden, we found her. The Lord, no, we didn't find her. The Lord directed her to us. And we just needed to be there at the right time when she would actually be home. We had been knocking at the wrong times. We needed to be knocking at 8 o'clock, 8:15 at night to be able to get in contact with her at first.
Yeah.
That was the time we had to be knocking on the door to be able to actually get a hold of her. We could have knocked at any other time before that. She would not have been home. And I remember that very well. I was a very strange couple weeks, and we just knew the Lord just kept on telling us, you need to go there. So we did. And as far as I know, as far as I heard, she ended up going, staying active in the church, getting her temple recommended, and to this day is active. And her daughter, which was a couple years old, was active in the church as far as last I had ever heard. So
cool.
I don't know. Who knows what will come of that from down the line? I don't know, but I know that was a very interesting couple weeks. Glenn Rothis. Yeah, we knocked on a lot of doors. Yeah, we did. We did knock on a lot of doors. I don't remember. It didn't remind me. I don't remember we had too many particularly solid investigators. I don't
We
remember.
there was a guy, I don't remember his name, but he went, we would visit him pretty regularly. Came to church a couple times, went to a ward activity with us. And then we had the bishop come with us to teach him. But that was like the last teach we had with him. That was like our teaching pool definitely wasn't very big.
No, it was not.
But I do remember the appointment with the bishop because he had, I think he had like a Christina Aguilera calendar on the wall. And the bishop's like, we were giving him one of the like further along lessons about the law of chastity or something. And the bishop's like, so for example, we wouldn't have a calendar like that on our walls.
Well, that may explain why we lost that investigator there.
Maybe.
Maybe.
It needed to be said.
Yeah,
So,
it was true.
yep.
That type of calendar, those types of things are extremely common and flagrant in the world today. I'm at a workplace sometimes they have coworkers around when we have projects where you have multiple people. Usually I'm by myself, but I just hear it so much. People just have such really dirty mouths. I don't know how to describe it other than they just have really dirty mouths and dirty minds.
You send them through the car wash, clean them up.
I wish I could. I know it's the first. I've noticed this happen. The first one or two times I'm with a coworker, they sometimes will say things, but then by the second time they've noticed that I've never responded to any of their things, and I don't use any of those types of words back with them, and they just kind of I don't say anything, but at the same time, and next time I see them, they just talk in a much more clean manner and actually start apologizing for using curse words. And I've never told them that you can't. But I've just noticed that they just start automatically doing that because they go, oh, this guy doesn't do any of these words.
Yeah. I remember the first day you were my companion. So I came to the area and you asked me like, what do you usually eat for breakfast? I was like, I don't know, toast and cereal. So the next morning you had toast and cereal ready for me.
Oh, that's true.
Like, who is this guy?
Who is this guy? It's the guy that on the first date that I had with my wife, that I went to go visit, that introduced to her family. I instinctively, when it came to everybody else started to go playing a board game or something like that, I walked over to the kitchen and started doing dishes with her mom. That's just instinct for me.
Smart move.
Slam dunk right there.
That's just normal for me. That's just immediately what you do.
That's who this guy is.
You just hope the host of whoever was kind enough to let you in. You be kind to them. I know it's not really a mission, but this is a funny story. The first date that my wife and I had was a blind date. We were set up on a blind date. And I get to the door, knock on the door. She doesn't answer. About 10 minutes later, I'm like, yeah, she's not. I've knocked a couple times and she has not answered. I'm like, oh well, the blind date, no big deal. I'm about to drive away and she comes riding up on her bike, like, don't go yet. I'm like, oh, that's why she didn't answer the door. And then she said, I was like, well, I'll just go wait in the car. You want to go get ready? I'll just wait in the car. Just come down whenever you're ready. And she's like, well, that's fine, but yeah, I'll just get my stuff and I'll just take care of myself in the bathroom. You can just she had a studio apartment. I'm like, I felt really awkward. I'm like, I'm not. This is really, 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 really awkward. So he's like, what am I supposed to stand in your studio apartment while you take your shower in your own bathroom? I'm like, what am I supposed to stand and not feel totally out of the place? So I found the one place. It was that little tiny kitchen, that little tiny nook kitchen they have in the studio apartments. She had dishes. What am I supposed to do? I can't stand around anywhere. I'm afraid to turn around. So I did all of her dishes and dried them and put them away in her cupboard because, well, that's what you do when you do dishes, right?
Yep.
You clean them, rinse them, dry them, and put them up right away. So that's what I did.
And now she's your wife.
Another slam dunk.
Well, that's what you're supposed to do.
That's what you're supposed to do.
That's nothing exceptional. It's just normal for me. That's situation normal.
It's because you're exceptional.
In our world, that's not normal. Most guys are there for other reasons besides I'm gonna wait here and do nothing, maybe hang out on my phone. But you did the dishes, and that's amazing.
Yep.
Well, that's how you treat your companions. That's not took the same logic. My mom taught me to be respectful of other people, and you be considerate of their needs and things that they need. Or butters. All right. So yeah, that's just the way my mom taught me to be. So I treated all my companions that way. Yep. So like that breakfast that you had there, that's just normal. That's what you should do. That's just in my brain. That's just what you should do. When I was with Elder Christoph, with Elder McClure, I don't know how many times we did breakfast. It's fun. We had a companion, and we had a someone we were teaching in Kilmarnock, who was from South Africa. I remember this really well. And he started talking about the, as he called it, biltong. It's basically beef jerky, but this is their name for beef jerky in South Africa. So he taught us about how to make biltong. So I remember in our flat, we actually made biltong in our flat.
Wow. Nothing, no special meat or anything, just like typical beef.
Always got a decent cut of meat, stripped it, cut it down to very thin strips, put seasons according to what he described and according to the recipe kind of thing he described. Went ahead and made it and hung them out on got an ingenious way, hang them on racks over the radiator to help dry them out.
Oh.
Wow.
I was going to say, how did you dehydrate anything in Scotland?
You hang it over a radiator. Those unsafe radiators are so big. It's so crazy. We hung it over a radiator with like some towels underneath it to help keep staining the carpet. We can just wash those towels. And so we made some biltong there. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
Charles, I have a question for you.
Sure.
So I spoke with Kevin Vertighem the other day, and he called you by the name of the Nobulator. Do you recall who gave you that nickname?
I do not recall, but I remember it being very common among other missionaries.
It's because you were the Nobulator.
I remember it being common among a lot of other missionaries. Didn't seem to matter what area I went to. It just seemed to follow. That nickname just seemed to follow along.
But you don't remember where it started?
Not exactly. It was just so common. I don't remember the exact point. It may have been It may have been Glenn Rothis. It may have been Sterling.
I was going to say, I can't picture Brock Wilkie or Salvo Aurelio calling you that, but I can picture Matt Fisher calling you that.
That'd be my guess.
That would definitely fit his personality. All right. Is he still riding his 4-wheelers?
I haven't talked to Matt yet. That's someone we need to get on here. I would love to catch up with him.
Before he came on the mission, that's the reason why he had a couple weeks delay, because he broke his leg in riding 4-wheelers before going on mission.
Oh, I didn't know that. Wow.
And then
ask him about it.
And then he hadn't fully healed, so his ankle was still a little bit rolled. That's the reason why, after his first area where he was walking on the rolled ankle, the next 7-8 months of his mission were in car areas. Intentionally, so that he could stay off of his foot as much as possible, so he could actually heal. But he had a severe rolled ankle from a 4-wheeler rollover before his mission.
Wow.
And that's the reason why he was in car areas for so long, because they wanted to make sure he had a chance to let his foot heal before as an American he would have to stop driving. Yep. So they wanted to give him a chance to make sure he could actually walk and not be limping everywhere.
So they put him in Thurso for 10 months or something like that. I can't remember how long he was up there.
Yeah, he was up there a long time. But he was definitely in car areas a lot of the mission. And I remember there was many times he'd come home after chapping for a while or doing stuff, and his foot was just like swollen puffball. So we'd just stick packs of ice on his foot almost every day, just to help try to get the swelling down every day. He had a few rough first months because he couldn't walk anywhere. He just couldn't put pressure on it. It was just constantly, because he never had a chance to heal, and he just keep aggravating that injury. It's just not going to get any better.
I got another question for you. So most of us gained weight in Scotland, but not you. Right?
No, I put it back on, but yeah. That makes a big difference from going from a highly sedentary, non-exercise life to walking around everywhere. As I had a car in 2 areas, Huntley and
there was one in Glenrothes. That they sent away when I came.
Yeah, Huntley and Glenrothes.
But I'm not bitter.
All the other areas I served in, they were all walking. So, having gone from graduating high school at 250 pounds, almost no exercise routine whatsoever, to being a missionary walking around everywhere, you're naturally going to lose some weight because you're now actually going from active. You're actually going to be active, and now you're going to lose some weight.
How many stone did you lose?
5.
5 out there.
5 stone?
That's incredible.
Oh my gosh.
You and I swapped. I left 5 stone heavier. So.
Yeah, I lost 5 stone within the first year, and then just kept that. It just stayed off.
That's what I remember about first meeting you. I think we met at the tattoo, the Edinburgh tattoo, when you were with Wilkie. Yeah. And your suit was falling off you, so big, because you had lost that weight. But that's awesome.
Did you get a replacement suit at some point, or how did you do that? I don't remember.
You had a rope for a while for a belt. I remember that, but somebody made you get a new suit.
I did have a rope.
I remember that. Oh man, I didn't know how you did that.
Because I couldn't get a regular belt to cinch the pants down enough.
You should have just permanently borrowed one from one of the thinner missionaries.
a suit.
Yeah, I'm a cheap person. Okay, I don't like spending money.
I said permanently borrow. That means steal. Take it away.
There was too much stuff in those flats left behind by previous missionaries. I decided not to pick up much of that stuff because, oh my goodness, my suitcase was heavy enough as it was. I didn't feel like putting more in it. Oh my goodness, it was way too heavy as it was. I didn't feel like putting more in it.
I still have football boots from the mission that I found in a flat in my sport bag in my garage.
That's how I got my new suit on the mission, as I found it actually in an apartment. I don't know who was the missionary who left a suit big enough for me, like long enough for me, but somebody did.
That's amazing. I didn't know that.
Yeah. I did. I think I did find one suit in a flat that was smaller, and I think at towards the end of the mission I used that one most of the time. It was like a blue pinstripe suit.
Oh yeah, the mob boss one. I remember that one.
It was like a blue pinstripe suit, but I wore that one for a while because it fit way better than my ones I started out with. Ones I started out with, they're like giant bags on me. They were just, I eventually just left them in my suitcase and didn't even take them out from area to area. They just stayed there. And I think most of the time I just, that's what I went thrift store shopping a few times and found other suits that fit, and I didn't care about color matching. Who cares? I've never been known for being color coordinated. Never have been. So I just find anything that kind of fit, and whether it was a green, I think I had a greenish coat once with like gray pants, which doesn't really blend. But I didn't care. I don't care about those particular things. My wife to this day still gets on my case sometimes. She's like, "No, you're not walking out of the house like that." I'm like, "What's wrong?" Like, "No, you're not. You're going to put this on instead. You're not walking out of the house like that."
You need to tell her from now on, you can't tell me how to dress. I'm the nobulator.
No, she could tell me how to dress. I totally agree. If she says I need to dress somewhere else, like something else, I will do it.
The real nobulator.
The answer is yes.
You're
yes.
Smart man.
The answer is yes, I will do it.
All right, Charles, I have another memory that I want to share with you. So if you recall, when we were in the Dundee zone, we had an epic zone. What was it? Zone activity.
Zone football mill?
No, where we went to the park, and then we had a water balloon fight at this flat. Do you remember this?
Ah, yes. I haven't seen that for a long time.
Now, the funny thing is, I can't remember who took the picture, but I saw a picture at one point where you were upstairs in one of the rooms with the windows open, and everyone else had ducked down because they were expecting water balloons, and you were up there eating a sandwich or something with your head just sticking out the window. And I'm gonna have to find it and send it to you because it is one of my favorite pictures of you of all time. However, at this barbecue, I can't remember who told you to, but they told you to eat maybe fill your mouth, and this is my favorite picture of you.
Oh yeah, that would be me.
You're just purely happy. It's amazing. Like happiest boy in the mission right there. I love it.
In high school, to explain that, in high school and in junior high, I used to eat all sorts of combinations that should not be eaten together just for the sake of trying them.
Such as?
Well, take a vanilla milkshake, eat half of it. Then proceed to take your nacho chips, your nacho cheese, the lettuce, tomatoes, sour cream, all that stuff on it, a little bit of broccoli from someone else's last broccoli from someone's soup, stick it all together, and mix it up, walk away to your locker, go get your stuff from your locker, come back, all my friends were giggling at the table. be oblivious, eat what's on the top, and then they all go, ooh! I'm like, what? Like, we just stuck a cricket in there.
Oh my gosh.
I'm like, okay. That's what that extra crunch was. What's the problem? And continue to proceed to eat the rest of it all the way down. Not bad an eye.
Oh,
So does that explain?
Never miss a meal.
Does that explain why I would be willing to do that? Just stick a sandwich in my mouth and just stuff it? Who cares? I got that down. If I'm willing to stick nacho cheese and salsa and bits of pizza inside my milkshake and stir it around and eat it, I think just stuffing your face with a little bit of sandwich is not a problem. Will do.
So, Elder Noble, tell us about memories you have of the Vrainses, present Sister Vrains.
Oh, Sister Vrains. I'll start with Sister Vrains first. I loved the birthday cook. She called them birthday cookies. Those were not cookies. Those were monster pies.
Monster pies?
Do you remember the birthday at Zone conferences? Yes, exactly.
Oh yeah, they were humongous.
They had to be shared between like 4 people, and even then, you still felt like you had too much cookie.
I never shared. No way. Not a chance.
Well, I shared mine. I shared mine with like 5 or 6 people. I was perfectly willing to do that. It was perfectly fine. Another thing I remember about her. Do you remember the time she went around during the Zone conferences and she put on like the pig outfit and the pig snout to remind and talking about flat cleanliness? And you and me, Jack, were one of the reasons why she talked about that. She was talking about flat cleanliness and being better about keeping our flats clean and being good little piggies and not messy piggies. But she actually stuck like a little pink schnauzer on their nose and did that during Zone conference.
Oh yeah.
I remember
that.
That's a prevailing memory of Sister Vrains. I don't know if she loves that or not, but you know,
she had fun doing that too. She was laughing when she was doing it. She wasn't doing it just because like, oh, this would be kind of. Then you get the message. She was like, oh, what's the funniest way to do it? And that's what she did. I remember all the types of things like she used to do like that.
My favorite was watching President Vrains in the background with his hands over his face and just doing this the whole time.
Just wondering, oh, great. Oh, not again. Exactly and she went after it. I remember one time she was like put some sort of like wig or something on just to get some point across. I can't remember exactly what it was, but yeah, she used to do silly things like that just to get the point across in silly ways. I remember President Vrains, he always had really good, really well put together Zone conference talks. I always really liked that about him. Very organized, very people orientated. And the few times I was by the mission home, which was really, really, really rare. How many times it actually was there? I think I can count on less than one hand the number of times I was at the mission home. It was less than one hand. Coming in, going out. The military tattoo. The second time, because of the way because it came in July and it leaving in July, I had a chance to actually go to 3 tattoos. So my first time, it just happened to work out. I actually go to 3 tattoos. The second tattoo I went to, we had traveled from, I can't remember where it was, but there was no way we were going to get back that night, so we stayed overnight at the mission home. I think those are the only 3 times I was at the mission home. No other times was I there. but I was always impressed. I was always impressed by the garden that President Veens took care of and maintained. He did not hire that garden. They did not have a hired gardener. He took care of that garden himself. If you ever saw the mission home over there, he took care of the garden himself. Because he was his professional job is a florist company, doing bouquets, centerpieces, all sorts of stuff like that. I remember him talking about it one time, and they were hired a couple times to do some of the big ornate flowers in the background behind the speaker stand for general conference a few times. So that's the type of level of floral work that this company can do. Pendragon, yeah. Sorry about that.
All good.
Yeah, it's all good.
But I would definitely appreciate his very, very organized talks. I used to keep notes, like studious notes of every zone meeting, district meeting, zone conference, general conferences, state conferences. I still have those journal notes. They're all written in there, so they go from every district meeting. I have all those notes from and all that stuff still. I remember Elder Bird one time asking me, what did President Veens say in this zone conference? And I looked back at my notes, I'm like, he talked about this. Because they had all the notes written down from that's one thing I did to help because those sometimes those seats were just way too soft. So I had one of my reasons why I did that was to help keep myself awake. Because once as missionaries we were used to walking around all the time. But sitting on a real comfortable spot for like a couple hours, it's too easy to fall asleep.
Yeah.
So
That's very true.
I do this to this day now. I'll sometimes wake up in the morning and I need to get up. And I'm like, I'm going to read one article, read an article in newspaper and from the newspaper or headline or something. And I sit on the couch. One more article, and I'm going to go get up and move. If I don't move after that, if I don't move halfway through that second one, I'll fall asleep. I'm out. So I already knew that going in as a missionary. I already knew I had that tendency. So one of my strategies to make sure that I wouldn't do that during zone conferences or district meetings was to make sure that I took really good notes and sometimes move around a little bit just to make sure to help keep myself awake and make sure I can keep good notes. By doing that, I kept myself from falling asleep as much as possible. And I don't know if people knew that was my biggest reason for doing that. Also like to have an idea as to what people had said so I can look back at the notes, but it served as a double purpose to help me keep me from falling asleep at the same time.
I guess I should have taken notes while I was teaching because I often fell asleep during those experiences.
I can't say I ever fell asleep during a teaching appointment. I can't say that.
That's impressive.
I was too engaged in trying to do my best at teaching lessons, and I know I was never very good as a missionary in terms of discussions. I was probably always second par and second rate in terms of discussions, but
No, you weren't. Don't say that.
This is the classic humility coming out that Wilkie talked about in his podcast.
That's right.
I've just never been very good at that, so I just struggled to. I don't see how I am particularly fabulously good at anything. I'm just not. I just don't see that.
That's right. Who else? So, Charles, who else should we get on the podcast that you'd like to hear from?
Well, since you've heard from Elder Aurelio and Wilkie, and I don't know if you ever heard from Elder Leonard or Elder McClure.
Not yet.
They're both English.
Yeah, those are two we haven't had on.
I wonder if I would somehow find a way to get a hold of Elder Leonard. I saw him one time after my mission. He was just so happened to be, and I don't know how it came to be, but I was walking from my house in Mesa to the Mesa Temple because it was only I lived only, what was it? Less than 2 miles away. So I just said, I'm just going to go walk. I'm just going to walk to the temple, go to temple session, just walk. And I just so happened to be walking at that time, and he was in town in Mesa for some reason out that street at that very moment, and pulled over and said, Charles, what are you walking here for? I'm like, I'm going over to the temple. I'm going to the temple. I'm going to go to a temple session. He's like, I'll give you a ride. I'm like, okay. So I let him give me a ride and talk to him for a little bit after that. And he wanted to be, I know he wanted to be a dentist on him. And he had many conversations with Elder Sutter, the senior couple there. His Brother Sutter was a dentist before he had retired as a dentist, before he was going on a mission. So I remember they had many conversations about what was life as a dentist, what types of things he should do in school, what should he do for his pre-meds, what types of classes should he take before he goes into his post pre-meds into his specialty of dentistry. He had many conversations with Elder Sutter about that because he was really interested about being a dentist. And I don't remember exactly how he was in Mesa, Arizona at that time, but I remember him, it was to my surprise, he was there in Mesa, and I just so happened to be on the street at that moment, and saw him. He drove by and picked me up and took me over to the temple there for the last, I think it was only 4 blocks at that point, but oh well.
Wow.
That's really cool, though.
It's quite the coincidence.
Yeah. Wow. Any others of your favorite missionaries that you remember from the mission that you want to hear from that you could wanted to bring to our attention, Charles?
Have you had Elder Bass?
He's on the
coming
schedule.
on next week. So he's is it next? Yeah, next week. No, 2 weeks. Sorry. He's on the future schedule.
Okay. He always had a really good sense of humor. Some musical ability. Not as much as Elder Aurelio, but I think very few people have as much musical talent as Elder Salvatore. Very few people have that much sheer musical genius and ability, just flying through their fingers. But he was very good at that, and he was always a very confident missionary, very good teacher. The thing I liked the most about him is he was always appreciative of and it was also a very bold. He was always a very bold testifier of the gospel. I remember how he when he went home, he stayed out. I had heard he intentionally had said he was going to be staying out at the out on the, I can't remember the name of this, what it was, but on Edinburgh, it's like a big public walking area. I have no idea what the name of it was. Never served in the Edinburgh area, so but he makes sure that he was doing people contacting me all to the very end. So I took that. I'm like, you know what? I want to do that too. So instead of just kind of sitting around in the mission home, I just wanted to go street contacting instead of sitting around the mission home until 8:30 at night, and then I finally went back to the mission home at that point. I didn't want to. I didn't want to leave. I didn't want to stop contacting. It was too much fun. The spirit was too good. Why turn down that opportunity when you can possibly meet one other person who's seeking the gospel, who needs the gospel in their life, and they can be their life changer at that point? Why sit back and chill out for that night? No, don't do that. Go street contacting it to the very last moment. I remember doing that. That was a really fun night.
That's cool.
I love it.
On a street that I'd never street contacted before, so yeah, it was a good experience. There was a few of us who were, who was it? I know Fisher was going to sit back for a little bit, but then when Elder Aurelio, myself, Elder Wilkie, and a couple others wanted to go out street contacting the night, Elder Fisher's like, all right, I'll go with you. But he was going to sit back for a little bit, but we decided to all go out at that time. I don't remember exactly how I think just we all had that sentiment. We just didn't want to leave that last night thinking like, oh man, I should have gone out. No, we just went out.
Yeah. Very cool.
I can appreciate that.
Yep.
It was January when I went home, and so I sat around.
I didn't care if it was cold or not. It was cold and drizzly like it was in the middle of winter all the time. I was in Huntley in the middle of winter, and that was cold. I was in Huntley. One of the P-Day activities we went to. We went to a big river heading up that ends in the North Sea, and there's a hiking trail along the bank of the river. You know, we went there, and I ended up writing a 3-page story about that adventure. One of the few things I actually wrote down, personal stuff I actually wrote down. I wrote a lot of mission stuff down, but I didn't write a lot of personal stuff down. I wish I did, but I didn't. I did that. While we were walking along, we almost stepped into some quicksand, but we stopped because we saw a deer that was already half submerged in it and sinking down in it. We're like, oh,
sheesh.
I guess we should avoid that spot. So we avoided some quicksand. We had because they had just recently had some rains there. The half the trail is kind of washed over. So remember, we had to bushwhack through some brush to figure out where we were, and we lost the trail because part of it got washed out. So we just started bushed through the trees until we got to the end of the trail, and we finally realized, oh, there's the trail. But yeah, we ended up bushing through bushing through there. I remember seeing that deer in the ground. I'm like, I'm sorry for that deer, but thank you for being out there. That could have been me.
Wow.
Well, Charles, thank you very much for coming on. You're one of those who said, I don't know what I'll talk about. And here we are, basically an hour and a half later.
Oh, goodness.
Having reminisced with you.
I'm sorry for hurting people's ears. I don't have anything interesting to say, probably.
Hogwash. I loved it.
Yeah, it was great.
We really appreciate you making the time, coming on, figuring out the technical stuff so you could come on. We really appreciate it.
Yeah. Well, yeah, if you're
next time I'm down in Arizona.
Where are you at now again?
We both live in Colorado.
Colorado, all right.
But all my in-laws live in Tucson, so I'll be down there sometime.
Oh, all right. Well, if you're down here, you probably have lunch somewhere. There's a really, really, really fantastic Chinese restaurant. Oh, I love it. In Tucson. Oh, I can't. Oh. No, seriously.
What's it called?
They actually serve a dish very, very common in China. It's called bitter melon. Very few places will decide to serve it because most Americans hear it and go, "Oh, there's no way I'm going to try it." You've got to try it. Oh, it is so. The best way to describe it is bitter melon. It is a melon, but it has a very bitter flavor to it. And they saute it in like a Tucson sauce or something like that. And this particular restaurant, they serve it with hard-boiled eggs, broken up and scattered all the way through it, and served it with sticky rice. Oh, it's so good.
What's the name of the place?
Hong Kong 81.
Hong Kong 81. Okay.
Or 81 Hong Kong or something like that. It's 81 in Hong Kong. I can't remember. It might be 81 Hong Kong. But it's really, really good. The last time I was there, the waitress said, "I remember you." I'm like, "Oh, I hope it's for something good and not being a bad customer." She's like, "No, no, no. I remember you. You're the white guy who likes bitter melon." I'm like, "Okay, is that uncommon?" She's like, "Yeah. Usually it's only the old Asian ladies." She said, "Oh, usually it's only the old Asian ladies who order bitter melon. But you ordered bitter melon, and you're excited." I'm like, "Well, it tastes very, very good." She's like, "Yeah, I know. I tasted it. I did. I wouldn't have tried it unless I was working here." I'm like, "That's sad. It's so good." And very few places even are willing to even offer it because a lot of Americans are afraid of things that are bitter or more tangy or more textured. Well, in Chinese cooking, that is the point. They go that sticky rice along with something very savory to offset the balance. They balance it out. Something that's more tangy with something that's salty, or something that's sweet with something that's bitter. They go for a balance. So they'll pick two flavors which are more extreme and balance them out so you get this nice melding of flavors. Whether it can be salty with bitter, it could be sweet with tangy. Like orange chicken is sweet and tangy, which is why people love it because it's sweet. But that's just a characteristic of every Chinese restaurant. So if you ever are down here, I would definitely like to have you go there because, man, is it good.
All right. Very good.
They should have you do the commercial for that place. Man. My goodness, you sold that so well. I'm drooling just thinking about it.
Oh, they had their roast their duck. Oh, it's good. They served the duck. Basically chopped a piece of the duck and like half the duck and roast it and just serve it pretty much half the duck right there. So you got to take it with your hands and actually take it apart and dig into it and dig into the gristle. But that is exactly the way, if you like duck, that's the way you want to get it. You want to get all the juice out of the duck, and that's the best way to serve it. It's not pulled already off. Leave it on there so you can actually get into it, so you can feel the full flavor and the texture and the beautifulness of the duck is.
We're going to sell this to them.
Yeah.
That's what we're going to do. To pay for our website, we're going to sell them the endorsement from Charles Noble.
Oh, no, they serve a lot of other things besides that. They have a really big menu.
Well, Charles,
you should be a food critic. That should be your next phase in life. I think
calling.
My wife makes chocolate.
Noble Foods. I can see it already. Noble Foods.
My wife makes chocolate, so I get a chance to taste a lot of different flavor combinations, and some of them have been good flavor combinations, and some of them are very particular. I'm like, that may not. I may like it because there's very few things food-wise I don't like, and I'm not willing to eat. But most people are a lot more limited on what they're willing to eat. I'm perfectly happy digging into a duck. It's still, you have the neck, and you serve with the neck and the wing and the half of the breast, and just digging right into it. And my favorite part there on that is the neck.
The next Andrew Zimmerman, Bizarre Foods host.
That's right.
That's what you should do. Charles, we love you, man. You're our brother in Scotland. So
We loved serving around you. At least I did. I didn't get to serve with you, but man, those times in the Kirkcaldy district were good times. So thanks for always making me smile.
Yep.
Yeah. I guess the only position I was too slow to do anything other than goalie when we did district football. Other than goalie's the only place that was the only appropriate place for me. So too slow to keep up with anybody else. So I was perfectly happy being the goalie.
You were always the strongest foot on the goalie line, though. I know that.
Oh, I don't know about that, but
You're like a brick wall out there.
well, we didn't have very many. We didn't usually have too big of a goal post that we were going in, so it's easier to defend a smaller goal post than a full tournament-sized goal post.
That's true. Very true.
And for someone like me, that was just I could hang out more in the middle of it and kind of just watch the play as the ball is getting passed left and right in the triangle formation. One thing I grew to love football and the tactics of it.
Yeah, me too. I agree.
You have that triangulation similar to basketball, where you have the high-low pass and then kick it back out for the 3-ball at the end, or the pass it around the 3-point line, and then as the big man is going towards the basket, you lob it into the big man while he's on the move, and that way he can have a chance of getting that layup while he's in the motion. Same concept you have in footy, where you have your forwards doing a lot of the passing in the back, and then you have your strikers just rapidly move through the middle and try to get the pass onto the strikers, so they can have a better chance of getting into the goal. When there's getting past the outer layer of defense, if you can get that into the striker when there's now more of a 1-on-2 kind of deal, it's easier to get that ball into the goalpost.
Amen. Absolutely true.
Yeah, it's just the strategy.
Oh man, it's been so much fun talking with you, Charles. We really have enjoyed it. Thank you so much for coming on.
Yep. Welcome.
Have a good night.
All right, you too.
See ya.
See you later, brother.
Bye.